Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Praptasya Gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Mahaprabhu ki Tananitya Gita Varitramadhyam Manasurasena Romanchakam pasu taranga bhajo Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shri Vigrahara Dhananityanana Shingaratanama Niramajanado Juktasya Bhaktamsya Niyunjatapi Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad Prasada Satana Triptan Kridvaiva Tripti Bhajata Sadeva Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shiradikama Vabayarapara Madhura Lila Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Ne kunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Virjuktir Apekshaniyam Ne kunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai Tatrati Daksha Atibalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Sakshat Haridena Shamasta Shashe Ruktastathava Vyataiva Sarvi Kintu Praborja Priyaiva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrinda Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Gayam Stubam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatya Deshatarine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravane Nirvishesha Shunavadi Patata Deshata Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Bo, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Gauranga, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Yaraya Nama, Krishna Jadavaya Nama, Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Gopal Govindaram Srimadhusudam, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad-Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Vattaraguna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasara Guna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Shri Shri Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Pramanande, Haribo. Jai Vishnu Para Paramsa Prabhaka Kachad Ashtutara Sarasi Shimari Divine Grace Abhajramina Bhakti Viranta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Pratishta Bhiviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Siramani Gaura Priyajana Krishna Prima Bhakti Data Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gaurya Guru Varga Patita Udhara Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhadra Gunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sadguru Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai. Jayananta Kutu Vishnu Vrindi Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauru Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Prema Nama Sankirtaneka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandana Shriman Guranga Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gauru Hari Mavrana Avatar Ki Jai. Golokera Pramadhana Hari Nam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai. Juga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Brihat Nidanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Radha Kunda Syama Kunda Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrajabhim Vrindavan Mathurudam Ki Jai. Dear Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. Shri Maya Purnavadvip Eka Chakradam Ki Jai. Param Karuna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Shri Purushottama Kitra Jagannath Puridham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Smasvadradev Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kari Shingare Bhagavan Ki Jai. Jaganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dharani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaurari Pramanande. All glories to the Assembly Bodies. All glories to the Assembly Bodies. All glories to the Assembly Bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Guru. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Prahlada Narada Prahlada Narada Haile. Hiranyakasipu Bhaksha Hiranyakashipurvacha Silatangkanakalaye Jaya Silatangkanakalaye Ito nisinga Parato nisinga Jato jato jamitato nisinga Bair nisinga Rudaye nisinga Narasingha Madim Sharana Prapade Tabakara Kamalabare Nakam Adabhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanabringa Kesabadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Tabakara Kamalavare Adabhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanabringa Kesabadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Kesabadruta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jaya Nisingade Jaya Nisingade Nisingade Jaya Nisingade Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari Narahari Jaya Narahari Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Prahlad Maharaj Bhakta Prahlad Sila Prahlad Maharaj Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo जय श्री श्री भक्ति पद सर्व विघ्नाशना कनिसिंह भगवान की जय भक्त श्रेष्ठ प्रहलाद महाराज की जय Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai. Nitai Gaurari Premanande Hari Hari Mo. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyayai Ke Savasatya Vishnu Bhakti Prare Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyayai Ke Savasatya Vishnu Bhakti Prare Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyayai Ke Savasatya Vishnu Bhakti Prare Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi. Radha Krishna Seva Pava Abhilasi. Radha Krishna Seva Pava Abhilasi. Jitomara Sharanala Taravanchapuna. Kripa kare kara tare Vrindavana basi tumi. Tumi kripa kari kara tare Vrindavana basi. Morai abhila vilas kunje diyova. Morai Nayane vivo sada Jugala Ruparasi. Amen. Ini Vedana Dara Sakirano Gatakara Sevayade Kara Diye Koro Nijadasi. Dina Krishna Dase Koi Hey Enamora Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Navasi. Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Navasi. Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo. Jane Kani Sapapane Brahma Hatari Kani Sa Tani Tani Prana Santi Pradakshina Pare Pare. Jane Kani Sapapane Brahma Hatari Kani Sa Tani Tani Prana Santi Pradakshina Pare Pare. Yani Kani Sapapane Brahmatari Kani Sa Tane Tane Prana Santi Pradakshina Pare Pare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Tulsi Mani Jaya Bhakti Devi. Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namah. Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Namah. Vrindaye Tulasi Devi Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradedevi Sattavataye Namo Namaha. Maharani Brinda Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Oh Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shishi, Radha, and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower carried the angels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in love with Shri Radha and Govind. Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Brindi Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai. Chaito Darpanamajan Bhavamada Shri Akari Chandika Vitaranam Vidya Vadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Patipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Parampara Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Vaudha Ija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Itarushi Tava Kripaya Bhagavanmati Durdaivam Idrishamya Jani Nanuraga Trinarapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amani Namanadena Kitaniya Sadahari Nadhanam Najanam Nasundari Rabitamba Jagari Shaka Mayi Mama Janmani Janmani Shari Bhavatar Bhakti Raituki Twai Oinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Paritama Bisame Baba Buddho Kripaya Tavapada Pankaji Sitaduli Sadrishtam Vishitayu Mangala Aarti Vadanam Gadagarudaya Gira Pulakari Chitam Vapu Kada Tavanam Agrahane Bhavishyati Juga Itam Nimishena Chakrusa Prabhusa Itam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahename Asli Shava Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshnar Marmahatam Karotuva Jatha Tathava Vidadhatulam Patu Mat Pranatastu Saivana Para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kristakam Ki Jai Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratisha Namaha. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of condition of life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, some or other I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling old, vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and it should remain so, even if it handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai. Namo Mahabharana Krishna Prema Pragati Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva or Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the fearless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai Vancha Kalpataruvescha Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jayananta Kuti Vaishnavinde Ki Jai. Guru Mangala Aarti Pranama Ki Jai.
Mirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunvalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Judha Pajakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatan Vitam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Sa Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Jai Om Vishnu Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Shivasavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastate Namaste Guruvani Shri Murti Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshadvairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Virayate Gauravir Bhavabhumestwam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Savabhuma Sri Jaganatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabudanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurutuse Namaha Panchatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Sudator Pangur Mama Mandar Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpa Durmadaha Shimad Ratna Grasnastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasamanvi Ramsivata Tatastita Kasan Venus Vaner Gopir Gopinatakstu Yestuna Tapta Kanchana Gurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanus Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Guru Pranama prayers Ki Jai Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakarasat Masukalpa Riksha Laksa Vitesu Sarabhir Abhibali Antam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anmun Kanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Barhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesha Sobam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Chibanga Lalitani Yata Prakasam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujwala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sudurlabam Adurlabam Akvabhakto Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastukoti Satavatsada Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manasomani Pungamana Sopyastiyat Papadasim Vichinti Tatve Govindam Tamaham Bhajami Ekop Yasora Chaitam Jagaranda Kotim Yaschaktirasti Jagaranda Chayadaranta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktar Yamevi Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Patibhavita Abhistabir Ye Evi Nijarupa Tayakalabi Goloka Evi Nivasata Kilat Mabuto Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesa Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Mena Tistan Nanavatar Makarod Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhuvat Paramam Pumamyo Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Pavato Jagaranda Koti Koti Swasesa Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalamanantam Shesa Bhutam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagaranda Satani Sute Jaya Gunyatad Visayaveda Vitaya Manam Sattva Vulambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Yapraninam Pratifalam Smaratam Upetya Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasram Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tade Chatasya Devi Maheso Haritama Sate Sute Tete Prabhava Nichaya Ritaschayena Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Sisti Stati Pralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichanu Rupam Abhyasya Chichesta Tesa Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetu Yasam Bhutama Pitata Samapaiti Karyat Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Deparcha Deviti Santaramas Depayate Vivita Hetu Murti Samanu Dharma Yastadrakeva Icha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narda Vajale Bhajati Smayoga Nidramananta Jagadanda Saroma Kubaha Adhara Saktim Avalambya Param Samurtim Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamata Avalambya Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagadanda Nata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalavi Seso Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesa Nineshitesa Swiyam Kiyat Prakatiyat Apitadratatra Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidanu Karta Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dwande Pranama Samayesa Kanadi Raja Vignan Vihanta Malamasya Jagatrayasa Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahika Ganamambu Baruti Sascha Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayan Yasmat Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Amcha Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yas Chaksuresa Savita Sakala Grahana Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sudaya Stapamsi Brahmadi Kita Patagava Tayasta Jivaha Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakata Pavava Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrendra Gopa Matavendra Mahoswakarma Bandhan Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirhatit Kintu Chibhakti Bhajam Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Vitti Vatsalya Moha Guru Guru Vasavya Bhava Santinsha Tashta Sadvisim Tamahapurete Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kapataravo Tumabu Mishchintama Niganama Itoyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasaki Chidanandam Jyoti Param Apitadaswadyam Apichasayatra Shiradibihi Savati Shirabi Vyasta Suma Nime Sardak Yuvabrajitinaya Trapisamaya Paje Svita Dutam Tamaham Ihagolakam Itiyam Vidantas Te Santakshati Vira Jarakati Paye Shikuru Pranama Prayers Ki Jai. The spiritual masters receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I, from my respectful basis of the lotus feet, is such a spiritual master. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end. He feels quivering in his body, and tears fall from his eyes like waves are, from my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship. But the Lord, from my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is lit, chewed, junk, and suck. When he sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad-Prasada, he is satisfied to offer my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving trace within the groves of Vrindavan. My most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master, 300 is much the supreme Lord, because he's the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, from my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives a benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, I cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day, so with my respectful basis unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, verse number 14. Yasya Nuraga Plutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Pratilabdhamana Vrajastriya Digbir Anupravritta Diyo Vatastu Kilat Kritya Shesha. Yasya, whose, Anuraga, attachment, Pluta, enhanced by, Hasa, laughter, Rasa, humors, Lila, pastimes, Avaloka, glancing, Pratilabdha, obtained thereof, Mana, anguished, Rajastriya, damsels of Raja, Digbi, with the eyes, Anupravrita, following, Diya, by intelligence, Avatastu, sat silently, Kila, indeed, Kritya Sesha, without finishing household duties. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The damsels of Vraja, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In his boyhood at Vrindavana, Lord Krishna was notorious as a teasing friend in transcendental love to all the girls his age. His love for them was so intense that there is no comparison to that ecstasy, and the damsels of Vraja were so much attached to him that their affection excelled that of the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. Lord Krishna finally admitted his defeat before the transcendental affection of the gopis and declared that he was unable to repay them for their unalloyed affection. Although the gopis were seemingly anguished by the Lord's teasing behavior, when Krishna would leave them, they could not tolerate the separation and used to follow him with their eyes and minds. They were so stunned by the situation that they could not finish their household duties. No one could excel him, even in the dealing of love exchange between boys and girls. It is said in the revealed scriptures that Lord Krishna personally never goes beyond the boundary of Vrindavana. He remains there eternally because of the transcendental love of the inhabitants. Thus, even though he is not visible at present, he is not away from Vrindavan for a moment. Text 15. Swasanta rupesh vitirai swatrupar abhyadhyamanesh vanukam pitatma paravareso mahad amsa yukto yajo pidyato bhagavan yatagni swasanta rupesu. Unto the peaceful devotees of the Lord, itarai, others non-devotees, swarupai, according to their own modes of nature, abhyadhyamanesu, being harassed by, anukampita atma, the all-compassionate Lord, para avara, spiritual and material, isha, controller, mahat amsa yukta, accompanied by the plenary portion of Mahat Tattva. He, certainly, aja, the unborn, api, although, jata, is born, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, yata, as if, agni, the fire. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead, the all-compassionate controller of both the spiritual and material creations, is unborn. But when there is friction between his peaceful devotees and persons who are in the material modes of nature, he takes birth just like fire, accompanied by the Mahat Tattva. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful because they have no material hankering. A liberated soul has no hankering, and therefore he has no lamentation. One who wants to possess also laments when he loses his possession. Devotees have no hankerings for material possessions and no hankerings for spiritual salvation. They are situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord as a matter of duty, and they do not mind where they are or how they have to act. Karmis, Jnanis, and Yogis all hanker to possess some material or spiritual assets. Karmis want material possessions. Jnanis and Yogis want spiritual possessions. But devotees do not want any material or spiritual assets. They want only to serve the Lord anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds that the Lord desires. And the Lord is always specifically compassionate towards such devotees. The karmis, jnanis, and yogis have their particular mentalities in the modes of nature, and therefore they are called itara, or non-devotees. These itaras, including even the yogis, sometimes harass the devotees of the Lord. Durvasa Muni, a great yogi, harassed Maharaj Ambarisha because the latter was a great devotee of the Lord. And the great karmi and jnani Hiranyakashipu even harassed his own Vaishnava son, Prahlada Maharaja. There are many instances of such harassment of the peaceful devotees of the Lord by the itaras. When such friction takes place, the Lord, out of his great compassion towards his pure devotees, appears in person, accompanied by his plenary portions, controlling the Mahat Tattva. The Lord is everywhere, in both the material and spiritual domains, and he appears for the sake of his devotees when there is friction between his devotee and the non-devotee. As electricity is generated by friction of matter anywhere and everywhere, the Lord, being all-pervading, appears because of the friction of devotees and non-devotees. When Lord Krishna appears on a mission, all his plenary portions accompany him. When he appeared as the son of Vasudeva, there were differences of opinion about his incarnation. Some said, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some said, he is an incarnation of Narayana. Others said, he is the incarnation of Shirodakshayi Vishnu. But actually, he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Stu, Bhagavan Swayam, and Narayana, the Purushas, and all other incarnations accompany him to function as different parts of his pastimes. Mahat Amsa Yukta indicates that he is accompanied by the Purushas who create the Mahat Tattva. It is confirmed in the Vedic hymns, Mahantam Vibhum Atmanam. Lord Krishna appeared just like electricity when there was friction between Kamsa and Vasudeva and Ugrasena. Vasudeva and Ugrasena were the Lord's devotees, and Kamsa, a representative of the karmis and jnanis, was a non-devotee. Krishna, as he is compared to the sun. He first appeared from the ocean of the womb of Devaki, and gradually he satisfied the inhabitants of the places surrounding Mathura, just as the sun enlivens the lotus flower in the morning. After gradually rising to the meridian of Dwarka, the Lord set like the sun, placing everything in darkness, as described by Uddhava. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The personality of Godhead, the all-compassionate controller of both the spiritual and material creations, is unborn. But when there is friction between his peaceful devotees and persons who are in the material modes of nature, he takes birth just like fire, accompanied by the Mahat Tattva. So this is a very interesting verse because it shows that the Lord is the protector of his devotees, of his genuine devotees. So, if we want to be protected by the Lord, we should become pure devotees. And what is a pure devotee? Well, he explains it in the beginning of this purport. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful because they have no material hankering. A liberated soul has no hankering, and therefore he has no lamentation. So, why does he use the word hankering? Why doesn't he just say desires? Well, there is a nuance. Having a desire is one thing, but hankering is a persistence of thought about that one thing. Let's look up hankering. There is a nuance. I mean, it's also said hankering means desires.
It's a strong desire.
Yes.
Longing to.
Yes, you can't get it out of your mind. Whereas someone has desires, they can forget about them also, and it's not so, let's say, frenetic, or not so, let's say, all-encompassing of their mind. But hankering, they're always thinking about it. They can't get it out of their mind. See? So therefore, a liberated soul has no hankering, and therefore he has no lamentation. That's very true. If you don't have any hankerings, like this obsessive desires, and you don't have any lamentation, you're not feeling that you're missing something in life. So this is Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. Prasanatma means you're self-satisfied by dint of devotional service. You don't need anything else. It's not that, well, I can't do my service because I don't have this thing and I don't have that thing and this condition is not right. There's a proverb. There's a funny proverb that says that the dancer complained that the floor was not exactly flat. Therefore, she couldn't dance properly. This is nonsense, right? So when you're hankering, you always find something to lament about. You're always lamenting. You're never happy. Like there was this one businessman I had some relationship with, and I was buying things from him, and he was always complaining. Oh, business is not going good. But he was lying. He did that so that people would feel sorry for him and give their business to him. He's a very clever guy. Very, very clever. So he was always complaining. Well, you say, how's everything going? Well, it's not so good, the climate of the business is not good, and he would always be complaining, right? And that was his trick. And so people who are always downers, always complaining, this thing's not right, that thing is not right, this is wrong, most of that is because they have such strong hankerings that it makes them crazy. So they're always lamenting, they're always negative. They can't really become peaceful. So this is further explained in the 5th chapter, Bhagavad-Gita, where it says, there's a lot of really nice verses. And it says, 3rd chapter, verse number 7 and 8. Let's see what it says. Yoga yukto visuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurvan apina lipyate. Purport, translation. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though all is working, such a man is never entangled. This is a very profound verse. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, one who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being. And every living being is dear to him. This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from the tree. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all the leaves and branches, or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the whole body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness, servant to all, he is very dear to everyone. Now see, that's a very important point. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, he is very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. So when there's someone that says, oh, well, you didn't do this right, and you didn't do that, and you forgot this, and this thing is not right, that thing's... So it's disturbing to the mind when you hear all this negativity about your service. But if you are a servant to everyone, and you have no material hankerings, therefore you have 24 hours a day to serve, then everyone likes you, more or less, because you're always serving them, right? Everybody wants to be Prabhu, and they like to see everyone else as the servant, the sevak of their desires. Okay, well, the devotee naturally accepts that position, and without any second thought, because they want to serve Krishna and his devotees. And even the non-devotees. The devotees also serve the non-devotees by going out on Sankirtan, giving out prasadam, giving out different paraphernalias of the deities. They don't know that they're paraphernalias of the deities. We know that. And we also know that if they come in contact, even with a flower or a stick of incense that's been offered to the deities, they'll be benefited. So, the devotees will do everything to help others come to Krishna consciousness. So then it says, and because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Just like when you go on Sankirtan and someone says, you know, we really respect what you're doing because you're helping out some of the people that are in the greatest need in our community. And so thank you for doing this. Well, you feel very good that they said that. They're recognizing your service, and they recognize the fact you're coming on a regular basis every week, every month, every year, for many years. So that's a sign of something that is a wonderful quality of persistence to help others, to para upakar, to do good to others. So people recognize that. They respect it. Because there's so many selfish people. Everybody wants to be Prabhu and everyone else should be their das. But when you become dasanug das, people notice it. And they're very respectful of that continual effort to help others. So it says here, and because his and because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there's no chance of his being deviated from Krishna, nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics relating to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. And he does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as has already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individually. Would continue to live individually as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only their dresses were changed by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of work. Whoa, now we have to be very careful here. We're treading on very slippery ground here. So if you say Arjuna didn't kill anyone because he just changed their temporary bodies, someone could say, oh, wow, all right, so I can kill this guy that I don't like, and I'm not really killing him, I'm just helping him change his dress. No. No, it has to be ordained by Krishna. So someone who doesn't know Krishna but reads this, oh, I can kill someone because they're not really killing. And when I go in front of the judge, I say, well, Judge, I'm just following Krishna consciousness here. It says, look, this is the 5th chapter, 7th verse. This is our religion, man. No, it's not like that. Krishna personally ordered Arjuna, right? And Krishna had already killed everyone. It was just a matter of time. And he collected them on the battlefield so they would kill each other. And ultimately, only the Pandavas survived that battle. Out of 640 million people, only the Pandavas survived, right? When I say people, they were not people, warriors. They were all warriors. There were no common people involved in that battle. And it was a righteous, let's say, fight. People followed, they tried. Well, Duryodhana broke the rules, but at least for 10 days while Bhisma Pitamaha was there, they followed all the rules of engagement in battle. And as soon as he was incapacitated, at that point, Duryodhana and Sakuni and others started breaking the rules. And that's why they killed the son of Arjuna in a very improper way. Okay, so this is a very interesting purport. There's a lot of major points, but we can see how dangerous it is to have material hankerings. And we have also discussed that one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 10th chapter, 8th verse. O my Lord, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religion, strength, memory, and truthfulness are vanquished. So, even one material hankering is enough to ruin all these other, let's say, assets that we have, such as patience, religion, intelligence, opulence, strength, memory, truthfulness. All these things are destroyed even by one material desire. And what if we have multiple material desires? And basically, he's saying something very similar to this verse, which he says, one is very dear, a devotee is very dear to all living beings. Why? Because he approaches everyone as a servant, not as the master. Right? He's very humble. He has self-control and a peaceful mind. This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from the tree. So, this is the vision of the devotee. That's why he'll go out and risk talking to people that are completely in Maya to try and help them. And because he sees that they have an eternal relationship with Krishna. He knows that. Therefore, they just have to be reminded of who they really are. And therefore, he or she goes on Sankirtan and tries to distribute Prabhupada's books. By the way, only Prabhupada's books should be distributed on Sankirtan, no other books. I mean, we have hundreds of books here now, but none of those should be distributed on Sankirtan. Only Prabhupada's books. Because Prabhupada is the best preacher. So we don't need lesser teachers. We need the best teacher. So, therefore, one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, and he's very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. See, so now you see how this is all connected. And this is the opposite, complete opposite of what everybody else is trying to do in this world due to the educational system and the whole culture. Everyone wants to be Bhagavan. Right? number one, the greatest, the most powerful, the richest, the most famous, the most intelligent, the most this, the most that. One time a devotee told Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen person in the world. And Prabhupada said, you are not the most anything. Because if you say I'm the most fallen person in the world, that means you're special, right? That means you're above everybody else, right? Or below everybody else, or whatever. So that means you're very special. And Prabhupada said, you are not the most anything. So we have to be careful. See, I mean, these are all tricks of the mind, or tricks of cunning people. They want to be distinguished always. Where the devotee, there's a saying in my language, do a good deed, throw it in the ocean. If the fish don't see it, God will see it. So you don't have to publicize your good deed, right? In other words, you should do things in a very humble way and not seek to be honored by it. Of course, honor will come naturally because of that humility. But one is not seeking that. One is seeking simply to do good to others and follow one's Shiksha and Diksha Guru's instructions and Krishna's instructions. So, and because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there's no chance of being deviated from Krishna. See, now that's very important. How do we keep our mind always focused on Krishna? Well, by chanting Hare Krishna. Every time we feel as if, I think Maya is attacking me right now and I'm being attracted by it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just keep chanting until that cloud of confusion goes away, right? Just like 2 days ago, I get this email from some lady with her picture, right? And she said, I need to see you right away. And then I didn't answer. So she sends another text. Says, it's really important. Just give me 15 minutes of your time, right? So I didn't answer that either. So, I'm not sure exactly what she wants. She doesn't want to say what it is, right? And she wants to meet me personally. That means that, without anybody else there. So we cannot have any meeting like that with a woman. That would be very inappropriate, right? One time, Prabhupada, one time there was a couple that came to see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur when he was giving darshan, and there were other people there. And at one point, the wife said to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, said, Gurudev, she was a disciple, said, I need to talk to you privately. And he looked at her and said, you can say whatever you want right now. She said, no, it should be private. He said, no, I cannot meet you privately. It's very inappropriate. She's a married woman, even though it's his disciple, right? He refused to see her privately. He said, you can say it right now, whatever it is, I'll answer your question. So you see, there is a certain, why is this? Because you never want to be in a situation of he said, she said. You know what that means? He said, she said. You're alone, there's no other witness, and the lady can go out and say, he tried to molest me. So how would you defend yourself? There's no way you can do it. It's he said, she said, and then everyone's going to say, he's a rascal, she's telling the truth. So to avoid the he said, she said situation, you should never see a person of the opposite sex alone in a private place, right? Because you don't know what they're going to say, you don't know what they're going to do. This happened to me once. This one lady, although I refused to see her privately, she was speaking to me there was a festival going on in Paris, and she came up to me and talked to me, and said some nonsense things to me. And I just walked away from her, right? The next day, she complained that I tried to have some sex with her. No, she actually said I had sex with her. And then all the big guys, they called me, and they're real stern, and they believe what she said right away. They said, "So, we know that you've fallen down." I said, "Really? How do you know that?" "Well, so and so said that you had sex." I said, "Well, ask so and so where that happened, what time that happened first." So they were a little surprised, because I didn't get shaken or, so, I got confused. I didn't get panicked, because I know I didn't do it. So why should I panic? Why should I be intimidated, right? So I said, you ask her when it happened, what time it happened, where it happened, then we'll talk some more. So 2 or 3 days later, they told me that they talked with her and she admitted that it was a lie. You see? So then why did she do that? That question, why would she do such a thing? Well, first of all, she thought that by telling me these nonsense things, I won't even repeat what she said, that I would be enticed, right? And then we would go off somewhere and do nonsense. But I just, I just ignored it. I just walked away from it. It's nonsense. So, but she was so hell-bent on ruining my reputation that she lied. I mean, she couldn't control herself. See? And she wanted to please her Gurudev because she knew her Gurudev, he didn't really like me that much, but I was serving him anyway. But she knew that it would be good if I could become, blackened, my reputation be blackened, and I would be completely, under his control. And actually, he liked that. At that time, all these crazy things were happening. He liked to hear from wives private things about the relationship with the husband, so that the husband would be compromised and would be under his control, So, anyway, she didn't succeed, and I was not intimidated by it. So therefore, if you have not done something wrong, then you don't have anything to worry about. But if you've done something wrong, then you'll be worried all the time, right? So it is definitely absolutely important that men do not be alone with a woman, especially a woman that's not your wife, and because it's very easy to have a he said, she said situation. Okay, so because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled, and because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there's no chance of his being deviated from Krishna, nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. Engage his senses other than the service of the Lord. There's no way he'll do that, or he or she will do that. He does not like to hear anything except topics relating to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna, and he does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? So anyway, this is very important. Just what I just read is very important. We should memorize this and understand what it's saying, because it's very important if we want to be successful in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so one material desire or material hankering is enough to contaminate all our good qualities. So we have to be very careful to have only simple and pure desires to please Guru and Krishna, and not fantasize in our mind all kinds of different nonsense situations that we're hankering for. Okay, so this is extremely important. And one who wants to possess, so a liberated soul has no hankering. And so I'm back to the purport 3.2.15. One who wants to possess also laments when he loses his possession. Devotees have no hankerings for material possessions and no hankerings for spiritual salvation. They are situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord as a matter of duty. There it is, the word duty. They're engaged in the service of the Lord as a matter of duty. They're engaged in their marriage as a matter of duty, not because of body-to-body attraction, but as a duty. The husband has to be the leader of the house and has to protect his wife and his children. And it's a big responsibility. We don't realize, when you get married, you don't realize what a responsibility it is. It's a huge responsibility, right? And many people are not ready to accept such a responsibility, right? They only realize it once they get into that situation, and many times there's divorce because it's too much for them they were not prepared for such heavy responsibility, yeah, and heavy obligations. Okay, so devotees have no hankerings for material possessions and no hankerings for spiritual salvation. They don't even want to be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. They are situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord as a matter of duty, and they do not mind where they are or how they have to act. They don't mind if they're in Ukraine during the war. They don't mind if they're in Hawaii preaching on the beach, wherever they're supposed to be. As a matter of duty, they go and they spread Krishna consciousness, and they can make any place Vrindavan because they will establish chanting Hare Krishna, offering food to deities, establishing deities, offering food to the deities, and getting it back as prasadam and distributing the prasadam, going out of Sankirtan, distributing books and preaching. This is Krishna consciousness. They can do it anywhere and it'll work. The system is perfect. So I want to read a couple things here that are very interesting. There's a letter that Prabhupada wrote to a devotee named Karandar, who I know very well, but he left Krishna consciousness on the 27th of July, 1973. And he says, Vedic knowledge is definite. Take, for example, Padma Purana. There it is said there are 8,400,000 species of life, 2 million trees, 1 million insects, 400,000 humans, etc. Nowhere do we find about so and so many, but exactly the number is given. So, in other words, everywhere they say, well, there's approximately this, approximately that. But Padma Purana is saying there's exactly 8,400,000 species. It's an exact number, right? Nowhere do we find about so and so many, but exactly the number is given. Or we see the description of Kali Yuga, and we are experiencing it. There's the description of Kali Yuga that was made 5,000 years ago, and we're seeing it with our own eyes today, right? Everything that was predicted 5,000 years ago is going on right now. We're seeing it. Right? People of this age will keep big bundles of hair and thus think themselves very beautiful. So that's already explained in the Bhagavad-Gita as one symptom of Kali Yuga. So this is going on. For want of bathing, the population of this age will appear like pisachas, hippies. He's calling the hippies pisachas, right? Because they have real long hair and they don't bathe regularly, which is true. They used to put patchouli oil. So whenever you'd meet a hippie, he smelled like patchouli because it masked two things. It masked the smell of his body because he is not bathing regularly, and it masked the smell of marijuana, right? So it does it used to do two things. That's why patchouli became so popular amongst the hippies. Right? Everything is given in Vedas exactly. Why should we go to such men for knowledge? Meaning the philosophers, the scientists, the school teachers. Why should we go to them for knowledge? They don't have any knowledge. They're just preaching all kinds of nonsense, right? They pose themselves as big leaders, philosophers, but we have to accept our leader according to the standard symptoms, or qualifications. The standard textbook for civilized administration is Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. A leader must be peaceful, self-controlled, austere, pure, tolerant, honest, wise, learned, and religious. Not like your President Nixon, a rogue and a thief. Such men cannot do any good to society. Only those who are trained up in the ultimate goal of human life, they can lead, because human life is meant for going back to Godhead. Wow, Prabhupada's right on message, right? He doesn't deviate. This is, 1973. Therefore, our society is serving the whole world by supplying the missing part for perfect advancement of human civilization. We are supplying the head. Although all parts, such as legs, are necessary, the whole thing is useful only when there is a head. In other words, an intelligent, devotee leader, right? So everything is already there, but it is now mixed up. We want to bring the whole world into order by giving the right directions to all classes of men. Right direction means to deliver the instructions of Krishna. And because Krishna is perfect, if you present this knowledge anywhere, it will automatically defeat all the existing concocted hodgepodge ideas, congesting the feeble brains of so-called scientists, philosophers, or anyone. Whoa. Prabhupada ki jai. When my Guru Maharaj was present, even big scholars were afraid to talk with his beginning students, with his neophyte students. They were afraid. Why? My Guru Maharaj was called living encyclopedia. He could talk with anyone on any subject. He was so learned. So we should be like that as far as possible. No compromise. Ramakrishna, avatars, yogis, bogis, everyone was enemy to Guru Maharaja. He never compromised. Some God brothers complained that his preaching was chopping technique and it would not be successful. But we have seen that those who criticized, they fell down. Those who criticized Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they fell down. One time, Gandhi led a protest. A large group of his followers protested in front of the Gaudiya Math temple while Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was inside. They were outside protesting. Why? Because they were claiming that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was making too many highly educated disciples and taking these disciples away from the what is it called? Satyagraha?
Freedom fight.
Yeah. Is it Satyagraha? Yeah, from the freedom fight, right? And Gandhi was there himself. And they were protesting, And then the devotees inside the temple, they freaked out. And they wanted to Bhakti Siddhanta, Gurudev, this is going on, what are we going to do? He said, ignore it. They will go away. And that's what happened. They shouted, ha-hoo, ha-hoo, ha-hoo. Eventually, they just walked away. He said, just ignore them. They said, they will go away. They're nonsense. The devotees freaked out. Right? There was a big group. Gandhi was there. Right? You see, Gandhi was a nonsense. He was a nonsense. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati refused to compromise. He did chop like Parasuram, chop preaching. He was the lion preacher, right? So we have seen that those who criticized, meaning criticized Bhaktisiddhanta, they fell down. For my part, I have taken up the policy of my Guru Maharaj: no compromise. All these so-called scholars, scientists, philosophers who do not accept Krishna are nothing more than rascals, fools, lowest of mankind, etc. So you go on with your work. It is very encouraging to me. Thank you. Your ever well wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. P.S. This evening I had a talk with Sir Alistair Hardy, M.A.M. A. D. S.C. of Oxford. So he has a master's degree and a doctor of science from Oxford University, which is the top university in the world, right? He is a nice gentleman. And there's a letter that he wrote to this Alistair, what's his name? Sir Alistair Hardy. We'll read that another time. So here Prabhupada is saying, no compromise. Now, that should be our thing. Now, there's a person like that in our movement, is Bhakti Vikas Swami. No compromise. See? And he has enemies. Even people in the GBC don't like him. But every time they try to attack him, he prevails because he's simply repeating what Prabhupada said. He's not deviating, right? And he wrote this one book about women, and they banned the book. But afterwards, they had to apologize to him because after very careful scrutiny of the book, he simply repeated what Prabhupada said. He didn't give any personal opinion, right? And now there's another thing going on with them. They're trying to blacken his because he doesn't give second initiation to everyone, right? And they're saying this is wrong. This is not what Prabhupada wanted. But if you look in the books, Prabhupada also did not recommend second initiation for everyone. Although in the beginning he gave it to everyone, but he also expresses the fact that not everyone has to be. He said if everyone becomes Brahmin, then you can't establish the Varnashram system. You need also the Kshatriyas, you need also the Vaishyas, you need also the Sudras. He said, but there's no problem with that. If they all cooperate, they'll all go back to Godhead. So, they keep trying to catch him and throw him out of the movement, but because he simply repeats what Prabhupada says, no compromise. When they look at it carefully, they see that he's simply repeating what Prabhupada said. Right? So therefore, now they have a problem with what Prabhupada said. But that's not going to work either. Okay, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions?
Yeah, we listen to Bhakti Vikas Swami. He's very firm and...
He's lion preacher.
Yes.
Yeah, he's Simha preacher,
He has a channel directly now on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, they watch those channels to see if he says something wrong. Not to learn from him, but to see if he says something wrong so they can catch him. But they can't catch him because he simply repeats what Prabhupada says. Okay, all glories to Prabhupada.
And many times Bhakti Vikas Maharaj is bringing the topic, those are like very grey.
Yeah.
And he's bringing those topics in his YouTube channel just to clarify.
Yeah.
And they're very helpful many times.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of similarity between you are also, when you are in the Vyasasana, you are firm. Exactly.
And that clears Maharaj so many doubts, because we hear bits and pieces, different information. But
Yeah.
when we got a clear information, no, this is the right thing, then it clarifies the doubt. Otherwise, it's like a cloudy, like, oh, whether this is right or this is right or mixed is right. It's like,
We have to hear regularly, bona fide sources. Okay. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma. Bando mui sabadana mate. Bando mui sabadana mate. Janar prasade bhai e bhavatoriya jai. Krishna prapti hoya hoite. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Goriya Kya. Arana Koriya Mane Asa. Arana Koriya Mane Asa. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttamagati. Prasade Pure Sarva Asa. Ye prasade pure sarva asa. Shakshudana dila jai janme janme prabhu se. Divya Gyan de Prakashito Shri Guru Karuna Sin Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasa Jate. Vede Gai Janara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Aha Prabhu Pura Doya De Amore Padachaya Aha Prabhu Pura Doya De Amore Padachaya Ebe Astguseki Bhuvana Ebe Astguseki Bhuvana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Tiger Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Tiger Gaur Premanandi ki jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajika Statara Satara Shishi Shimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vinda ki jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai Tulasi Devi ki jai Bhakti Devi ki jai Ganga Maya ki jai Jamuna Maya ki jai Samaveda Bhaktivedanta ki jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi All glories to the Sambhavan All glories to Sambhavan All glories to Sambhavan All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai Gaura Premanandi Haribo Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Namaste The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. We bow down at his lotus. I bow down at his lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing with his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be to us. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi, Haribol, Haribol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhuta Visamata Bhakta Swami. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pachana. Nirvisesa Sunyavadi. Paskat Ya. Desatarine. Haribolo, Haribolo.